On today's Locked On Texans podcast, how can the Houston Texans beat Who Dat Nation? And we're looking at a depleted wide receiver unit. Which playmaker needs to step up ahead of Sunday's matchup?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Texans fans across the nation, across the South, and especially here in Houston, Texas, to a Friday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, and part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you to all of our returning listeners and viewers. And if you are new to the Locked On Texans podcast, do us a favor. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texans podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. I'm your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy, Hickman, and of course, joining me as always, my man, y'all know him as Cody Davis.
I'm not throwing up the H today. Not throwing up the H today.
But you got a hat on.
I can't. I mean, that's because it's called Locked On Texans. So, I got to keep that up. I'm just saying I'm not throwing up the H today. That's all I got to say.
Okay. He's your Texans Credential Media member. He's your eyes and your ears every day while he's out there at the NRG Stadium and covering the Houston Rockets. But make sure you guys check out the Locked On Rockets this year as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, man. Listen, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Cody, we're looking at how the Houston Texans can beat Who Dat Nation. Of course, we're going to dive into the YouTube comments, but for those of you who are watching, Cody what you mean? How can they beat him? He's a Saints fan today. For those of you who are listening, that's what's going on. But first, let's open up with the Houston Texans either having players return back, and this seems to be one of the more healthier weeks for this roster. But we're also looking at a player who's very important to this offense in his rookie year, not returning back off IR due to concussion protocol. Tank Dale, what's going on with this roster? What should we look forward to seeing this Sunday?
Yeah, so as expected, I'm going to just go ahead on out and say it. Do not expect Tank Dell to play Sunday. John, as you just alluded to, he is still in concussion protocol, and he missed Thursday's practice, which marks the second consecutive day of practice that he missed. So unless something changes between today and Sunday, do not expect Tank Dell to play. But on the flip side, Christian Harris, Laramie Tunsil, and Robert Woods did make their return to practice on Thursday. However, they were limited, so we really don't know how much they participated in. But, John, I am starting to get a little bit concerned because when you look at the Houston Texans, you have not one but two important wide receivers that's on this injury report. As I just mentioned, do not expect Tank Dell to play, which means that you're losing on average somewhere in the ballpark from 55 to 65 yards. That is what Tank Dell is averaging through these first 5 games of the season. And not just him, Robert Woods, as right now he's limited with a rib injury, and due to his age and due to the fact that it's still a little bit early in the season, I would not be surprised if the Houston Texans decide to sit Robert Wood for Sunday's content, which means you're looking at a wide receiver where you are losing someone in the ballpark on average between 40 to 50 yards, which means that you're losing about an average of 110 yards between both of those wide receivers, John. And you also got to take into consideration that when you're going up against the New Orleans Saints, you're going up against one of the best defensive teams in the league. Their second and third level players are by far some of the best defensive units that you're ever going to run across.
Saints defense is really tough unit. They're top 5 in probably all statistical categories. Just starting with their defensive line, it all starts there. Physical front, long guys, they set the edge, they all hunt, they run to the ball fast. Second level guys, smart players, DeMario, Warner, very smart players at the second level linebacker spot. Make a lot of plays, and they play physical brand of football, and that's what Dennis is known for it. They've done it for a long time. Then you talk about their back end and with the coverage, tight coverage across the board, starting with Lattimore, really tough corner, plays the ball really well, is going to be competitive at the catch point. They've done a really good job of playing defense this year, and that's been the strength of their team.
John, if by any chance Sunday we get the notification, we get the news from the Houston Texans that Tank Dell and Robert Wood are inactive, who do you want to see step up for this wide receiving core? Because due to the inefficiencies of this rushing attack, I really don't see the Texans putting up that many points on the board Sunday against the Saints.
Well, first and foremost, guys, I'm looking at the number one guy, Nico Collins. There's no way he can leave out this game with 4 targets. It's kind of like damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah.
But I would rather see Houston at least try to get the ball to their best playmaker offensively, not named C.J. Stroud. So I'm looking at 8 to 10 targets. He has to step. By the way, it's not that I'm saying he has to step up. Last week, he didn't get a chance to step up. I think out of the 4 targets, he caught 3 passes, I believe.
But it's just how the way they played him, though. That's the thing.
Just how he played him.
And
So
this is a copycat league, and Nico is now at the top of the scouting reports for these teams,
which is something he's not used to as a player, at least at the NFL level. But you got to get him the ball. You got to try to give him the ball. Have to get him involved. One of the things, I don't know if you guys remember that play where they motioned him to the backfield, and then after the snap, threw a swing pass out to him. He picked up, I think, like 7 to 8 yards on that play. This was early in the year, maybe preseason. But they got to do things like that to get him involved. Also, I'm going ahead and say it. There's a young man that we've been waiting to see play football for a long time, dating back to his days in college, right?
Yes,
and out of his 7 targets so far this year, he's caught in 6 of them, 4 for first downs. I'm talking about the guy that carries my name, my brother, John Metchie. If it ain't going to be Tank Dell out on that field, then you really got to make a effort to get him involved. And he's a guy that I would love to see you utilize with some crossing routes, maybe some screens, those quick plays where he can, get out in the open field and make plays. So I'm looking at John Metchie, and I know that we've been talking about taking this slow and the whole 9. Okay, this is game 6. Ain't no more slow. It ain't no more taking the slow. If we was taking any more slower, we may have needed some Incredible Hulk and some R&B music to set the mood. We was gonna take us that slow. But this is a young man who has the football talent. This is the young man who needs that opportunity to show how good he is. Right? He has that energy. Bobby Slowick actually talked about him getting a bigger role in this offense, and I think is in due time. Simply based off of. I don't think Tank Dell's playing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and say Tank Dell is not playing. Normally, nobody comes back the following week after going into concussion protocol because of the safety and health of the players. So that's great. He's not playing. Robert Woods, even if he does play,
he's going to be 100%.
It's not going to be 100%. He's been very effective, but this is an opportunity for Bobby Slowick to look around and say, well, you guys got a good scouting report on Nico Collins. If Tank Dell was playing, you would have had a good scouting report on Tank Dell. If Robert Woods was playing, you got a good scouting report on Robert Woods. You got a good scouting report on Dalton Schultz. All of those guys have played in 50 or more % of their offensive snaps throughout the course of this season. John Metchie right now is still a 3rd, 4th option for this team. So the scouting report on him really ain't that strong, if it is at all. This is an opportunity for Bobby Slowick and his offensive coaching staff to say, well, New Orleans don't really know what we got down here. Let's show them on Sunday by game planning him up, scheming him up to be successful. So I'm looking at a fairly good day for John Metchie, a quote-unquote breakout game for Metchie. And I'm also going to call upon Dalton Schultz to continue to be that lead man at the tight end position. Make plays for this offense. Continue to be a guy that CJ can trust. That little tidbit CJ was talking about when he was saying, hey, when we went down there to score that last-minute drive touchdown, and I was like, Dalton, I want you to do this and whatever, and they threw that touchdown directly to Dalton. Continue to be that guy for your quarterback. That's it, right? That's what I'm looking forward to, getting involved. And even with Noah Brown coming back, just give this team something to help beat this very talented very good, very aggressive defense.
Mm.
Some very good DBs in New Orleans, by the way.
I do want to piggyback off you said about John Metchie because I think that's what everybody's expecting at this point, including myself. I also want to see a little bit more of Xavier Hutchinson as well, but without a shadow of a doubt, I agree with you, John. This can I'm not going to say a breakout performance.
Yeah, X
by,
Hutch. Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, X. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean they got two guys here in Houston. We've seen a lot of them throughout off season process. They got two guys in Houston that teams in the NFL hasn't game plan for, don't have necessarily a
Exactly.
lot of film on, especially X Hutchinson. So
Mhm.
this could be an opportunity for Houston to find ways, Bobby Slope to find ways to get them involved and attack that defense.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And to go back to your point about John Metchie, Wednesday I had an opportunity to ask Coach D'Amico Ryans what has the evaluation process of John Metchie has been up until this point.
Yeah, Metchie has done well. I think he's still working his way back, right? First year really playing football after a long time, and it takes time to work yourself back. And he's doing a really good job with the things that we're asking him to do. You see him showing up, making plays on the over route in the game this past week, and we expect that to continue to improve, continue to show those type of plays that he can make. You see the hands. It was a tough catch that he made, but he has great hands, great speed. He's getting back into that football shape. It takes time, but happy where Metchie is for us.
Those of you who are listening and watching on YouTube, first and foremost, shout out. But secondly, I'm working on something big, doing it like an exclusive, a big project on John Metchie. So I talked to him Wednesday in the locker room as well. And one of the things we talked about was this ramp up period that the Texans kind of have him on. And all he said was, I'm ready. I'm ready to go out there and play and get some real snaps, not just a little bit here and a little bit there. The young man is ready and hopefully it could come on Sunday.
Yeah, and can do what on Sunday? And for John Metchie, again, like I mentioned, out of his 7 targets, he's caught in 6 passes for 72 yards, 12 yards per reception. And when CJ Stroud is targeting him, he has a 109.5 passer rating. He's been very efficient in his small sample size for this offense. I think this is just a perfect opportunity for a more blossom role this Sunday versus the New Orleans Saints. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers and Texan fans across the world. We're talking about how can the Houston Texans beat Who Dat Nation? Well, regardless of how it goes down, right? I believe that Houston offensively got to put points on the board, but defensively, you got two guys that has been playing some very good football for Houston in coverage. Right now, this is according to the through the first 6 weeks, entering week 6 of the NFL, the lowest passer rating allowed. You got Steven Nelson sitting at 7 with 50.2. Well, Steven Nelson has been playing some good football. By the way, I know you guys probably don't remember this player, but Cody, remember a guy that we talked about a couple of years ago during the draft process? And I was like, man, I really think here in Houston, he'd be great. Out of La Tech, Amik Robinson. He was like he was a DB safety kind of guy, nickel, play some nickel, can play some safety kind of guy at LA Tech, La Tech. He's only allowing a 3.7 rating, passer rating. He's playing some good football for Oakland. Also for Houston, Blake Cashman is leading the way for the linebacker group. This is minimum 7 targets faced. He's only allowing a passer rating of 12 right now for Houston. So Houston got some guys on the defensive side of the ball that's been playing some good football for them. But when it comes down to beating Who Dat Nation, Cody, it comes down it comes down to converting on third downs. And this isn't a game where I want to see a lot of Kaimi Fairbairn featured. 4 field goals last week against the Atlanta Falcons. And that led to Houston eventually losing because 3 isn't better than 6. And they got to put touchdowns on the board. And to do that, you got to convert on third downs. That's something that Houston failed to do good last week. 4-13, they are facing one of the best third down defenses in the league. They typically get you off the field on third downs. They make it difficult for teams to continue to move the chains. And so we're looking at a team in the Houston Texans I go right back to what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Get creative, find ways to attack their defense by making it difficult. And again, I think this is a game where John Metchie can have a good, decent coming out party. He's only gotten, I think, at the most this year, 2 catches in the game was his highest so far. Didn't play in week 1. So with no Tank Dell and the limitations that have been placed on Noah Brown, possibly due to his injury, attacked his defense, I think, through the middle, honestly. You don't have to necessarily try to beat him downfield, but a guy like John Metchie and a guy like Nico Collins, who, by the way, has done a very good job catching passes from C.J. Stroud across the middle of the field as well, and between that 10 to 15-yard range for those passes, I think that's where Houston can move the chains. And I'm going to say this, do not stick to the run if it's not working. Do not be predictable on first downs. The Houston Texans run their plays or their running plays out of the first down more than anybody else in the NFL. So pretty much the scouting report, if it's first down, expect for Dameon Pierce to get the ball. And that's something that I think hinders them a little bit in terms of how teams are calling their bluff. And also I talked about earlier in the week, I'm giving you guys a lot right now, but I definitely believe if Houston follows these keys, this is something that can help them win. You got to put your best playmakers out there on the field, that 11 personnel with Dalton Schultz, Dameon Pierce, Nico Collins, and without Tank Dell, insert John Metchie and Robert Woods out on the field. That has been the most successful lineup for Houston this year. Protect your quarterback. Don't cause any turnovers. I know all of this sounds easy, but that's how Houston can win. That's how you can beat the Big Easy.
Majority, if not all of my keys were similar to yours, John. However, there are 3 important things that I'm looking at as well. First and foremost, I do believe that this is going to be another defensive-minded game. The New Orleans Saints, they're coming in with I believe, the 4th best defense in the league. And even though the Houston Texans are not up there, when you hear Coach DeMeco Ryans talk about the Saints defense, it resembles everything he wants his defense to do. So without a shadow of a doubt, I think this is going to be another slugfest on the defensive side of the ball. However, if this is going to be another defensive game, I need the Texans front 7 to front 4 to make sure that they get after the quarterback, because Derek Carr has not had a good season so far. And this is the 2nd week in a row you are going up against a quarterback who has struggled. Do not let Derek Carr get into a zone, get into a rhythm like you did with Desmond Ridder last week. And to be honest with you, I still don't understand how in the world the Texans did not create consistent pressure on Ridder, because like I mentioned before the Falcons game, Lamar Jackson, Kenny Pickett, Trevor Lawrence. You're looking at 3 quarterbacks who are fairly good. Well, I know Kenny Pickett got his own little issues going on, but there's still 3 quarterbacks who 2 of them are really good. One of them a former MVP, and one of them, he still got to go through his development process. But because you were able to get pressure on those 3 guys, you came away with 2 victories and 1 loss. The one thing about this offense, I think this is Alvin Kamara's 2nd game back following his suspension. Michael Thomas is definitely not the Michael Thomas that he was a few years back when he was balling with Drew Brees. That team on the offensive side of the ball, they don't have chemistry. They don't have camaraderie. They're still trying to figure each other out. So if you contain Derek Carr, that's definitely going to allow the Texans to take advantage of the lack of chemistry and continuity that the Saints have on the offensive side.
That's something me and Roth Jackson of Locked On Saints talked about. Like right now, we both kind of looked at the Saints still trying to find their groove. They got playmakers everywhere at every position. Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, who I think is having a quietly good season for New Orleans.
But it ain't like how it used to be, though.
Well, I mean, he's not a wide receiver 1 anymore, and he's also a guy still trying to work his way back.
Yeah,
I thought that Derek Carr has had moments where he's looked kind of good, but we all know
he ain't been the savior like the 504 thought they was getting.
It sounds like you thought you was getting the savior too, but
that too.
What I'm getting at is, listeners and viewers, is we talked about them not being in a fully groove of a state offensively. Pete Carmichael, their OC, kind of holding them back a little bit. And for Houston, this is the perfect game, like you said, Cody, to not allow them to get into a groove because they're not already. And we talk about John Metchie having a breakout welcome to the NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I need Will Anderson Jr. to go ahead and do what he can do, right? And by the way, Will Anderson is going up against double teams, and at times he's getting triple team if you want to count a chip block off the edge.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a game for you to kind of cause some disruption, not only in the run, which we've seen you do, but also also as a pass rusher. The Saints will allow some sacks, so it's not all on Will Anderson. John Gennard, get active. Jerry Hughes, get active. Your defensive tackles play discipline, and you may have some opportunities as well. They got to get out to the quarterback. Once they get out to the quarterback, that's going to cause turnovers. And once you cause turnovers on Derek Carr, you can pretty much count yourself the game. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick the more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stats projections and watch the winnings roll in. So for you Saints fans, including Cody out there, you can pick the more or less on whether you believe Derek Carr is going to rush for 4.5 yards or not, right? You can pick the more or less on whether or not you think Alvin Kamara is going to rush for 63.5 yards on the ground or not. You can pick the more or less on whether or not you believe Nico Collins is going to have more than 48.5 receiving yards. You do that more or less, and then you get the more back in your pockets at prizepicks.com. And right now we got a code for you to use. Use Locked On NFL promo code, all lowercase, for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Visit prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Before we close out, we are going to one of my favorite places in the world, and that is the YouTube comment section. Well, y'all been funny this week. Looking at some of these comments. Right now, this is from Chico Lavada. 4263. CJ is a gift from God for the Texans, and he has proven himself in the NFL. Texans and media need to stand up for him. He is QB1 for years to come. God bless you, CJ, on the field, off the field, Mr. Chico. Cody, take it away.
Hey, CJ, man. But put it like this. Going into Sunday's game, CJ is one of those guys to where you look and say the Texans definitely have the better quarterback. And I only said that because, John, I think it was last week you and I was talking about, and we was talking off camera about where will we rank CJ in terms of best quarterbacks in the league as of right now. Some people are already saying top 5. Some people are already saying top 10. I don't feel comfortable saying it that soon. However, the Texans definitely have the better quarterback going into Sunday's game. And you guys have seen it over the last 3 years of this rebuild. When the opposing team has the better quarterback, there's a good percentage, there's a good chance that your team is going to come away victorious.
Yeah. Two very good comments that I like to respond to. This is from user XGD. Okay, I'm not going to say all of this. But his question was, so here's a question. Would you give up your first from Cleveland for Chase Young? If so, you move Will Anderson or to linebacker or Gennard. I'm going to answer that really quick. No.
That's it?
That's it. No, I'm not. Listen, I think for Houston, that first round pick for Nick Caserio is the last Deshaun Watson pick.
And that's looking very good, by the way, because boy,
promising because Deshaun Watson, who's a podcaster now with Quincy Avery,
been cleared and not playing. I mean, maybe he's tight, because I know he's not.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, and he probably can't right
away.
now. Yeah, so
I don't know, but I'm not trading that first round pick. That first round pick for me is something either Houston uses to get a bona fide game changer offensively, or you hold on to that first round pick. I think right now, if the season ended, I think Houston would be picking top 10 in the NFL. I could be wrong, but it's not a 20th pick. It's a very good pick. I'm looking to use that to bring in somebody that I think is a star stud coming out of the NFL draft. Right now, I'm just not necessarily big on Chase Young, who, by the way, is having a good season. It's actually kind of shutting me up a little bit. But for this team moving forward, you go find your own version of Chase Young.
I definitely wouldn't. No, I probably wouldn't even consider it then. I was about to say I probably would consider it if the Texans didn't have Will Anderson, because you still needed your foundational piece on the defensive side. But even if they didn't have Will, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. However, John, I think this is a conversation that you and I can talk about next week during the bye week. There's probably going to be a couple good wide receivers on the market. Do you or do you not consider trading that first round pick for one of them? I mean,
I'm not trading a first round pick for a receiver.
I was
not. And I'll say this
because I honestly do believe this offseason, and maybe during the trade deadline, depending on what's going up there in Denver, I could truly see at least 3 or 4 Pro Bowl caliber receivers.
Yeah,
probably all pro receivers on the move. And you already have your quarterback.
Yeah. You got a coach that you believe in.
You got a coach you believe in. You got an offensive coordinator that you believe in.
Yeah.
And it won't be like he's coming to a wide receiving core like your lone option in the passing game. No, you're coming here with Nico and John and like Tank. Like that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not trading a first round pick for a receiver ever. Not now in the NFL where every year you got star receivers coming out in the draft. And I think for Houston, unless Houston was in a situation where you're getting the Stephon Diggs, like how Buffalo Bills did for Josh Allen, but even still, I think
he's
those
one
days
of
are
them.
long gone.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say that then that's what I was hitting at. I think he's one of the ones that's going to be on the move, but I wouldn't consider trading a first round pick for him because he's a little bit getting up there in age. However, when you go back a few years back, I can't remember how old Stephon Diggs was when they made that trade. He was young, and that's when. And there's like at least 2 young wide receivers right now. I'm like, yeah, they definitely could be on.
Well, so if Minnesota's like, hey, we're gonna tear it all down.
That I didn't want to say Justin Jefferson.
Okay, but I'll give it. I would definitely get a first round for Jettas. If come the off season, and I honestly think this player gets traded before or at the trade deadline. Like I'll look at Devontae Adams, maybe a first rounder for Devontae.
Really?
How I feel about Devontae, but what I'm getting at is there's so many good receivers coming out of the draft every year that I think it's worth holding on to, unless it's like Jettas or Tyreek Hill, and those are the top 2 receivers in the NFL right now. The last 2, Clowney, this is from FSFEKB. Clowney with a relentless motor would have been a problem. Real talk, I'm cool if that's what Will Anderson is. Guys, as of right now, Will Anderson reminds me of Jadeveon Clowney in his sophomore year. And that was when Jadeveon was 4.5 sacks that year. I think 8 or 9 tackles for loss. Was very effective in the run, but you were seeing him ascend as a player. And then that following year, I want to say he was an all-pro, and then, the 2 Pro Bowls after that. So if that's what Will Anderson turns out to be for this team with that motor and not the health issues, and we haven't heard anything in terms of Will Anderson in his career having those type of problems play-wise, then I think Houston has a dub right there. Last one, I just thought this was funny. John don't be showing no emotion. I smile and laugh all the time.
No, that must be one of them early morning recordings we had.
Okay. As a matter of fact, let me look at the show. This was the What has Will Anderson's greatest impact 5 games into? Was it early morning?
I think that was early Wednesday. That was Wednesday morning
Was
because I
that?
had the Rockies game Tuesday
Oh, you know
night.
what it was. Okay,
Yep.
so here's the thing, guys. Before we back out, if I'm waking up at 6:30 in the morning for 6:30 show to record, I ain't got nothing in me. I
Oh
got
my
I got
gosh.
words, I got speeches, I got stats, but I ain't got too much of emotion. I'm doing my job. At that point, I'm doing my job. I'm just showing up so I won't get fined.
See, I don't have that problem because I like to get up early anyway. So by the time we jump on a 6:30 show, I've already wrote this article, already had this set up. I'm like,
In fairness, I did just come from the gym, so I was up, but thank y'all for checking out this Friday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Y'all do us a favor. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. I got to say this one more time. I need number one chicken. I need Timmy Chan. I need Turkey Leg Hut. I need Buzz Barbecue. I need over here on the north side. I need 3Ds. I need Kid Creole. I need Cafe Ryan. I need Ray's Barbecue. I need all of y'all to come together collectively and not let Billy's Boudin come in here and take over. Don't let all of the etouffee spots come in here and take over. All of the seafood spots come in here and take over. Don't let Cafe Du Monde come down here and take over. Do not let New Orleans or Saints fans, don't let them come over. When the Saints come marching in, when they come marching, y'all stand right there at them doors and let them know this Ace time, baby. We're going to take the dub. And I got the Houston Texans winning 24-23 this Sunday.
Well, looking at
do
a
it for
team.
Me. Don't do it for Cody. Do it for
You say don't. I'm the one that was calling for all the Texas fans to make sure that they show out inside NRG Stadium. Look, I've been to one or two Saints game in the Superdome. I know how fans get, but I want to experience NRG Stadium popping with Texans fans. So, John, you know what? Everybody already know where they can find us on Twitter, Thread, or whatever the case might be. So to close out this installment of Locked On Texans, we're gonna let CJ Strauss say why he want the fans to come out and support the Texans. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I'm not giving a score prediction only because I'm conflicted, I must say. Peace!
I want to say, man, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. Y'all deserve to feel special. Y'all deserve to root the Texans on. Not winning since 2021, I think it was around Christmas, like that ain't flying from anybody in this building. I want them to know we find our tails off every day to make sure y'all walk around with Texan gear pride. Y'all walk around with that swag that we walk around with when we get a dub. And for me, I take that real personal because I don't like being bagged on by my teams. When my Lakers lose, I'll be pissed. So, I take that stuff real serious, man. And it's up to us to work every day and put the work in. And like you've seen, I mean, the Steelers fan came and they showed out today in our stadium, and we sent them home. And I think our fans felt the energy. Man, we ain't playing today, from the get go. So I just want to say, man, we're gonna keep fighting every day just so y'all can walk around with that swag. I think that's huge, man, for this team. That's something that we want to keep building on. And it's a blessing to be able to be in Houston, a great town with a lot of stuff to do, great people, Southern hospitality to its finest. And I'm falling in love with the city little by little. So it's a blessing.